There's someone in your life you've already judged, and you got it completely wrong. You've seen them before. They don't stand out. They don't try to impress. They don't signal success in any obvious way. Old car, simple clothes, quiet lifestyle. Nothing about them tells you they've made it. So your brain does what it always does. It categorizes. Average, comfortable, maybe, but definitely not ahead. But here's what you missed. That person doesn't need to look successful, because they already are. Not in the way people usually measure it, not in followers, not in brands, in something far more powerful: control, the ability to stop working and not panic, the ability to walk away without consequences, the ability to say no without fear. And the people who look successful around them, the ones with the upgrades, the signals, the visible wins, they don't have that. They have income, they have appearance, they have pressure, because the more they show, the more they have to maintain. And the more they have to maintain, the less freedom they actually have. That's the part nobody tells you. Wealth doesn't look the way you think it does. In fact, it often looks invisible. The people you thought were ahead might be the ones falling behind, and the ones you ignored might have already escaped. Welcome to the financial blind spot. Most people grow up believing something that sounds true, but isn't. That if someone earns a lot, they must be doing well. That a high income automatically means progress, security, success. But income and wealth are not the same thing. Not even close. Income is movement, money coming in, then going out. Wealth is accumulation. What stays? What compounds? What builds over time, even when you're not working? And the dangerous part? You can increase one while completely destroying the other. You can earn more every year and still move backwards. Because if your lifestyle grows at the same speed as your income, nothing changes. You're just operating at a higher level of pressure. More money, more responsibility, more income, more dependency. Eventually, you reach a point where your entire life depends on that income continuing, which means you don't own your life. You rent it. Nobody explicitly tells you how to behave with money, but you learn anyway. You see what success looks like, and you internalize it. Nice car, nice house, nice things, because that's what gets attention. That's what gets validated. That's what people react to. And slowly, without even noticing, you adopt the same script. If I'm doing well, I should show it. If I made progress, people should see it. If I worked hard, I deserve to upgrade. And that idea feels fair. It feels earned. It feels logical. But it creates something dangerous. Because now, your spending isn't just about utility. It's about identity. You're not just buying things, you're reinforcing who you are. And once spending becomes identity, it becomes very hard to reverse. Because cutting back no longer feels like a financial decision. It feels like losing status, like stepping backwards, like admitting something went wrong. So instead of adjusting, you keep going. At first, it feels like progress. Your life improves. Things get easier, more comfortable, more aligned with the version of yourself you're becoming. But under the surface, something is changing. Your life is becoming heavier. Not emotionally, structurally, because every upgrade comes with a cost. That doesn't go away. It stays. Month after month, year after year. Your lifestyle becomes more expensive to maintain than it is to change. And that's where flexibility disappears. Because now, You don't just have preferences. You have obligations, and obligations behave differently. You can delay a want. You can't delay a bill. And when enough of those stack together, you reach a point where your life requires a certain level of income, just to stay where it is, not to grow, not to improve, just to not fall backwards. And that's when the game changes. Because now, you're no longer building your life. You're maintaining it. Every financial decision you make is a trade, but you only feel one side. You see the upgrade. You feel the comfort, but you don't see what you gave up. Future flexibility, future options, future freedom. And the dangerous part? It doesn't hurt. Everything feels fine. So you keep going without noticing the real cost. Until one day you realize something uncomfortable. Your life works, but it doesn't move. And that's the real price. Not what you spent, what you locked. This is where everything splits. Not by income, by behavior. Two people, same life. One spends early, the other invests early. At first, no difference. But underneath, they're moving in opposite directions. One builds appearance, the other builds assets. And over time, that gap becomes impossible to ignore. Small decisions don't stay small. They multiply. Every expense becomes a pattern. Every pattern becomes structure. And structure becomes your life. At first, it feels harmless. But over time, you build a system that depends on you. A certain income, a certain pace, a certain routine. And once you're inside it, it's hard to leave. So you stay, and what started small becomes permanent. At some point, this stops being about money. It becomes identity. You're not just spending, you're maintaining who you are. And changing that feels like losing. So you don't, even when it makes sense. Because now the cost isn't financial, it's psychological. And that's why most people stay stuck. The people who build real wealth play a different game. They don't chase attention. They build control. They delay upgrades, question decisions, filter everything. Because they understand. Freedom is built quietly. And that's why from the outside they look normal. But underneath everything is different. There's power in not looking wealthy. No pressure, no expectations, no performance. People treat you normally, and that gives you leverage. You negotiate better, spend less, move freely. While others react, you choose. Stretch this over 20 years. Same income, different choices. One builds appearance, the other builds structure. And in the end, one has pressure. The other has options. One is stuck. The other is free. Wealth doesn't need to be seen, because real wealth is control, options, freedom. And that rarely looks impressive. It looks quiet. So the real question is, what are you building that nobody sees? Because one day, that invisible part of your life will define everything. Welcome to the financial maze.